The wave of anti-Semitic violence gripping our nation, escalating to murder overnight after two Israeli diplomats were shot and killed in the nation's capital.
And here in New York, anti-Semitic protests broke out yet again at Columbia University's graduation ceremony, with anti-Israel protesters clashing with police and burning their diplomas. Jeff Lax is a CUNY law professor and the director of students, alumni, and faculty for equality on campus, and he joins me now. Jeff, thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're going to want to react to both of these stories, but first, this horrific shooting that took place, killing two Israelis in the prime of their lives, exiting a place that should be safe. It was an event for young people to further their career, and seeing their images makes it all the more real and tragic. And you say that this was inevitable and not surprising.
Yeah, I think like millions of Jews across the country today, I think they're waking up and they are heartbroken for this young couple, and they're angry. They don't want to hear, we condemn violence. They don't want that. They want to hear, what are you going to do about it? Because, yeah, this was predictable and inevitable. When you have almost daily riots calling for the genocide of Jews, globalize the Intifada, which is a literal call to kill Jews all over the world, it is inevitable that you're going to have a Jew killed. And if they don't do something, there are going to be more of these incidents to come.
So what steps can be taken?
Well, I think first of all, the DOJ must open up a criminal investigation into every single group that has ties to Hamas, starting with CARE, that was an unindicted co-conspirator with Hamas in the biggest terror financing case in U.S. history, that they were funneling money to Hamas. And secondly, going through groups like SJP, WOL, AMP, any group tied to Hamas there should be an inquiry by Congress. There should be second, an inquiry by Congress as well to find out where the money's coming from, why this is happening. And third, I think Linda McMahon should meet with the accrediting agencies of these schools, universities, and talk to them about protecting every group and making sure that if the universities don't protect their students, don't protect harassment, discrimination, and violence, that they lose their accreditation.
What about what happened outside of Columbia University after the graduation? There were keffiyeh-wearing anti-Israel protesters. They ripped up and burned their diplomas. There was at least one arrest.
Well, I think a Columbia diploma nowadays is worth about as much burnt as it is in full. What she said yesterday was outrageous. She said President Claire Shipman. Mm-hmm. She said her community mourned the absence of Mahmoud Khalil, who led a criminal group that was committing violence and harassment against Jews. And two judges now have said, you are going to be deported for what you did. And she said you know what she should be mourning? She's going to come out today with an outrageous statement saying, I condemn the violence against the Jewish people. But she mourned one of the people who probably was an instigator fomenting what happened.
Along those lines, what happens on campuses throughout our country now? Because, Jeff, my worry is that if the events of October 7th led people on October 8th to celebrate and protest in favor of the terrorists, what's going to happen with this suspect? Is he going to be celebrated? Worse, is he going to be emulated?
I think Jews feel like target practice this morning. I think that's the fear, and I think that's why there have to be concrete actions. I'm calling out for Pam Bondi, Mike Johnson, and Linda McMahon. Open up investigations by Congress, look into the groups tied to Hamas, both criminally by the DOJ and by Congress with an inquiry by an investigation.
Yeah. And President Trump already released a Truth Social post. These horrible D.C. killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end. Now hatred and radicalism has no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all. What would you like to hear from the president today regarding this?
I would really like to hear that he's opening up investigations, that he's going to talk to the DOJ, that he's going to talk to Congress about an investigation, and that he talks to Linda McMahon before she does whatever she does with the education department, whether she disbands it or not. I think school accreditation must be at stake. They have to realize how serious this is. We see now, this morning, how serious it is. A lot of people are going to wake up today and come to, not just Jews, but decent people across the country. They're going to realize this is not really about Jews. These same people also hate America. They're coming after America, capitalism. They hate Christians too. It's not just the Jews.
So you don't think, independent of some act by Donald Trump, some act by Linda McMahon, these schools, our education system is going to look at what happened and say, hey, now we need to stop and we need to act up and stop anti-Semitism? You don't think that's going to happen?
I'll tell you, Todd, on a normal day, I would laugh at that, but I'm not in a laughing mood today. And no is the answer. We have seen that for many years.
What's it going to take?
Yeah,
What's it
and
gonna
the
take?
suspect is a Illinois native, and we need to know where he was radicalized, 30 years old, so just out of school age, but could it have happened there? Jeff, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Another instance of anti-Semitism occurred last night, now at our nation's capital. 2
Israeli embassy staff members fatally shot outside the Capitol Jewish Museum. The suspect, identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez, taken into custody.
Yad Vashem World Holocaust Remembrance Center chairman and former Israeli diplomat Danny Dayan joins us now. And thank you so much for doing just that. What is the reaction in Israel to this event taking place in Washington, D.C.?
Well, of course, it makes the top of the headlines. We are shocked by this event. We are used to terrorism. Just a few days ago, a young Israeli mother was assassinated on her way to giving birth in a maternity hospital. So unfortunately, we are used to shocking attacks of this kind. But when you see the picture of these 2 young persons, a young man and a young woman that were about to be engaged. He was about to propose to her a marriage in Jerusalem next week. It's really heartbreaking. You can't get used to this kind of terrorism.
No, you can't.
It's beyond heart-wrenching. And I know you yourself were a diplomat for a time. Let's focus on this couple for a moment, because much is going to be made over the next couple of days about the horrific individual who did this. But I want to focus and honor the memory of these 2 individuals who were killed. What can you tell us about the type of person, the type of young person who says, I love my country so much that I'm going to go to another country and be a diplomat for a period of years?
I was for 4 years Israel's consul general in New York, and I had in my staff many of these people. I don't know the 2 assassinated youngsters personally, but I know the characters. They are, I think that to encapsulate it in one word, they are idealists that come to serve Israel for a time, whether they are Israelis or young American Jews. In this case, where the man was an Israeli, the girl was a young American Jew. They are bright, they are motivated, they are idealists, and they want to make a change in the world. They want to, that Sarah, the assassinated person, the assassinated Israeli staff of the Israeli embassy, was very active in promoting dialogue, in promoting peace. It's really, the terrorists do not make any distinction as long as they are Israelis, as long as they are Jews, they are a target, and it should be stopped.
Well, we don't know a whole lot about the suspect just yet, although we do know that he was 30 years old, from the Chicago area, and apparently a member of a radical left-wing group that advocated on behalf of Palestinians. What do you think about where he was radicalized?
The first thing I did when I heard about this terrible news is to see in which college he studied. And he studied in the University of Illinois in Chicago. Then I went to the social media of students supporting Students for Justice on Palestine, so-called Students for Justice in Palestine. Actually, they are students for the annihilation of Israel in that specific university. And I found that it's one of the most vicious, most virulent, one of the most nasty chapters of this terrorist sympathizing organization. So, when in the legitimate discourse, protected discourse in these colleges, these include statements like globalize the Intifada, eliminate the state of Israel, every Zionist is a legitimate target, then you should not be surprised that it happened. I didn't look about the faculty in this specific university, but I would not be surprised if also the faculty in this specific university indoctrinated the assassin, the murderer, Rodriguez, progress in this direction. You cannot see calls for violence, calls for intifada, calls for the elimination of the Jewish state and expect a different result.
Danny Dayan, so poignant to hear from you, someone who runs a Holocaust Remembrance Center, because on a moment like this, we need to remember a horrific event like that and make sure it doesn't happen again. What we saw last night, horrific indeed.
Well said.
Danny Dayan, thank you, sir.
Danny.
Fox and Friends begins right now.